what I'd like to do in this video is just show you some variations. Okay, I'm going to change the code a bit. I'm going to create two objects. The first stack node is SN1. Remember, there is no stack object here. This is entirely just individual nodes because I want to illustrate how we can link them up before we actually start linking them up. I'm going to create stack node 2 with an ID, but the linked node is currently set to null. Okay, so let's just add a third one in and talk through how you're going to build a stack. So if I have a third stack node, okay, we're going to, without writing any further, so we have these 3 individual stack nodes. Each of them have been built. We need to build a stack out of them. So we had 2 options of how we could link them. But in order to link them, we need to have a getSet method for our linked node. So we can set it once we create the object, because when we create in the object, we're assuming that there's nothing there. So let's go back to our stack node and let's just create a getSet method so we go to generate for our stack node. We do getter and setter, and only for the linked node. Okay, we're not going to do anything else with the ID. We're going to just use it to identify. So it's the stack node we're going to set and get and see what it has. So there's a get method, which would just give me back the address of the linked node. And there's me taking the address, not passing an object and copying an object. Remember the mechanism. This is holding the address. He says, completely dragging and ruining his code. That holds the address of the linked node and it assigns the address to my member variable. Okay, let's go back over here. In that code we have created 3. So let's look at how we can interconnect them. And what we'll do is we use the debugger to tell us what happens if SN1 is the first item we add to our stack. And in the first model we had, let's just have a quick look. So in the first model we suggested that you could link them upwards, right? So the first one will link to the second, will then link to the third. Okay, so let's have a look at that. In order to do that, we've got the 3 objects. So SN1, when we are setting its linked node, we're setting it to the next one, SN2. When we have SN2, we're setting it to the link node SN3. Let's put a breakpoint in there and just check that that all works as we expect it to. Hit debug into that code and think about this. So the model here, while that's just loading up, is this one here. SN1 is our first, that's our second stack node, that's our third, and we're basically linking them upwards. The last one, SN3, will be null. Okay, so here's model 1. Right, the first link is done. We'll run the second one in a second. If you look at SN1, you'll notice that it's at address 469. The linked node is 470, which is the same as SN2 because we have set it, the address, to that. And if I click on the linked node, it's ID2, which is SN2, and that's the same as ID2, right, as in SN2. Then if I click SN2, currently it's null. So if I link it running that line of code, let's step over that, come down to here, then you will notice that if I just push this up a bit, for SN2, it's linking to SN3. And if you go to SN1, it's linking all the way through. So SN1 links to 2, links to 3. So this is the upward link. This is how you could do it if you start from SN1 being your first. So in this model, right, the SN3 is your top. Okay, so that's the very first way to do it. So a second way, which we discussed, was to kind of reverse it. Let's have a look at the image. All I'm showing you is the mechanism. So now this is SN1, this is SN2, and SN3, our third, will link downwardly. So how would that actually look in terms of code? Well, you would do it like this. Here we're linking upward. Let's stop this code and relink it. SN2 would link downwardly to SN1. So SN1, and this is how you would write it. SN3, which we've just added, would link downwardly to SN2. SN1 doesn't link to anything. If you look at the image, it kind of just points to null because it's pointing downward. Okay, so let's debug that and have a look at the links in the code and give it over to you as a problem to solve. What's the right way to do it? What's consistent with a stack node? Right, so SN1, SN2, SN3. So currently SN2 has been linked backward to downward to SN1, and if you look there, SN2 links to ID1. So let's execute that one there, that second line, so we can see all the links. SN1 is currently linked to nothing, okay, but SN2 links to it there. And then SN3, interestingly enough, links to all of them. It links downwardly. SN goes to 2, goes to 1. Now, what's interesting about this approach is that SN3 is the top, SN1 is the first. So keep those thoughts, explore those two, test it out, copy what I've done in this video, and then we'll move on.